Welcome to the Troy Kearns Channel podcast. Today I have my good friend, Ryan Pineda. He's the guy who inspired me to get into social media. His story is inspiring. He started as a baseball player in the minor leagues. He's worked his way up to being one of the biggest social media influencers around the country, as well as a dynamo house flipper, real estate education guy, and you're gonna wanna stay tuned all the way to the end because we get into every detail of his life and why he's successful. All right, welcome to the Troy Kearns Channel podcast, where we talk about all things real estate, business, and entrepreneurship. We have a very special guest and a good friend of mine. Actually, the reason I am here today, Ryan Pineda, the way I'm going to introduce him as probably the biggest real estate social media influencer out of Las Vegas and probably storming the country. You just had Grant Cardone on, which was probably the biggest guy before you. You've started an e-commerce company. You're flipping hundreds of homes. You're educating thousands of people. You got 900 followers on TikTok, or 900,000 followers on TikTok. You got 150,000 on YouTube, 150,000 on Instagram. What am I missing?
We got the podcast too. So we're doing the podcast.
That's right. You have 1,000 5-star plus reviews on your podcast.
Yeah, it's going good, man.
So I'm super excited to have you in here. I'm going to be picking your brain. Like I'm trying to steal all your ideas.
All right. I got a few new ones since we talked. So
sweet. So, tell us about, I mean, for those of you who don't know you, this is a brand new show, obviously. For those of you who don't know who Ryan Pineda is, tell us about your start.
Yeah, I'll give you the 5-minute version. Born here in Las Vegas, native, love Vegas. I've traveled everywhere and I don't think I'll ever move. I know there's a lot of people who, when they grow up here, they're dying to get out, but that's not me. I actually got to travel the country playing pro baseball. So I did that for 8 years. I got drafted by the Oakland A's and I had a good time, dude. But I never knew I was going to be this entrepreneur or investor or social media guy. That wasn't me.
Right.
I was just trying to play baseball. And unfortunately, when you're in the minor leagues, you don't make any money. And a lot of people think that, the moment you get drafted, you're just ringing in the dough. And it's not true. I actually had to become a realtor to pay the bills as a 21-year-old. And I hated being a realtor. Absolutely hated it. I know you had way more success than me.
Yeah, but I hate mine too.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my license back.
Yeah. I hated it from the beginning. And eventually I just stopped doing it. And I got into, just different side hustles. I was flipping couches. I was flipping cell phones, like anything I could make a buck on, I was flipping it.
Right.
And eventually I learned about hard money and private money. And I learned that, man, I could flip houses and make a lot more.
Right.
And so I got in the house flipping game in 2015. I maxed out all my credit cards to do it. I didn't have any money. I'd saved up $10,000. I maxed out some credit cards for $50,000. Okay. Used that as a down payment. Long story short, it worked out, thankfully. And, I made some money that first year and it just started to scale. I went from 5 to 20 the next year to 50 the year after that to 150 after that. And we've been doing over 100 every year since. And, it's exploded to a whole bunch of other things since then.
Yeah. And I've been following your journey. And like you said, I think a million times before is you don't know who's watching you.
Right.
And I was one of the guys watching you. And at first, I told you this firsthand, I was hating. Because I didn't understand it. And I think that's what people who don't understand do is they hate.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is this guy posting all this stuff? Why is he bragging? And then I was like, oh, he's not bragging. He's showing what he's doing. And when you got on social media, I think your timing couldn't have been more perfect.
Yeah.
And well, you were on Instagram, I think, originally, right?
Yeah, I had an Instagram. I started probably like in 2018-ish, right around there. And that was my main thing. I mean, I had accumulated a decent amount of followers. I had like 10,000. Okay. But that was just like me showcasing what I was doing as a house flipper and nothing more really. It got me deals. It got me different things. But it wasn't until 2020 I was like, I'm just going to go all in on being like a social media brand influencer and, see what happens.
What got you to make that decision?
Well,
or who?
Well, I was looking at what was happening with COVID. I looked, everybody was locked down. It was in March of 2020. And I started to think about my business. I said, where is the money at? Right. Is real estate going to tank? Who knows?
Right.
Everyone thought it was. And I just said, okay, people for the next, say, 6 months are going to be sitting at home doing nothing. And I started to look and see what people were doing. I'm like, people are like watching TikTok. They're watching YouTube. And I go, what if I was just the guy they were watching?
Yeah.
And so I put a poll out on Instagram. I said, guys, who are the top YouTubers? Who are the top, people you watch? And so they mentioned all these guys. And I looked them up and I said, okay, what are these guys doing? They must be flipping and buying all these houses and all this stuff. And I realized they weren't.
Right.
They were just talking about it.
Yeah. Talking head videos of how not to do anything but talk about it.
Right. So I said, if these are the guys that I have to compete with, I'm pretty certain I can do this pretty easily. And so I just said, you know what? I am going to do this. Well, actually, let me take a step back. One thing that caught my attention, though, and what turned me from hater to believer, kind of like you, was that initially I was a hater because I was like, why do people listen to these guys? They're not
smart.
Well, it's not that they're not smart. They're just not experienced.
Right. They're not. They're speaking from theory versus from
doing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, why do they have all the attention? Blah blah blah. And then they were doing videos on how much they were making from YouTube, and they're talking about making $200,000-$300,000 a month making videos. And let me tell you, I wasn't netting $200,000 to $300,000 a month making videos.
No.
I'm taking way more risk running my real business and, doing all these things to make less.
Right.
And I said, dude, I'm in the wrong game. And so I just said, I'm not going to hate. Like, I'm going to embrace what these guys are doing, but show it in, a legit way. And so I just jumped straight in, and I had full belief after watching what they did. And I said, okay, I don't care how long this takes me. It could take me years, but I believe that this is the path going forward. And I believe that this is the optimal time to go start doing it. And so, if you watch my first YouTube videos and all my first TikToks, they're literally me at my dining table during quarantine. And I'm just like trying to figure it out.
Well, if it helps any, you were right. Okay. Yeah. And you've been right for a while. So what I always say is anybody can be successful one time. Repeatable success in multiple different careers makes you a successful guy. So you're a successful guy. I was like, let's see how he does. You know what I mean? In the beginning, because I'm like, okay, because you kind of came out of nowhere.
Right.
You kind of it was like all of a sudden you were a house flipper and then you scaled up your business. And it was kind of like the same thing with me with REO. Nobody knew who I was until they knew who I was.
Right.
And I don't know if you realize how much of an impact you've had on a lot of people. I mean, I'm sure you do, but like even myself personally, I was sitting there, I'm watching your stuff and I'm going, okay. And at that point in time, I reached out to you. We went to lunch. I forget what the place was, but we went out to lunch and I was like, okay, this guy's cool. He's real. He's a straight up dude. Mm-hmm. And then when I had contemplated for a long time about getting into social media. And then when I was ready to make that decision, I went and came to the expert, which I was right on. And you're like, I'm like, how much money are you making? I think we had a phone call first. Yeah. And then we went and sat down in your office and you kind of showed me underneath the hood about all the possibilities and really you inspired me and showed me everything, which shows a lot about your personality, shows that you're a giver, shows that you are someone who cares. And you know what? It makes me want to give more back, right? It makes me want to help you more.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you being open-minded I know that you get a million people asking you for help. I certainly do all the time. And there's always the people who want to say, let me buy you a coffee. Let me take you out to lunch and this. And you provided real value. And that has made an impact that you don't even know. And it's hopefully going to, because of you, there's a guy in Houston that's going to chop up a house flip because of the thing I did. And that's because of you.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. So just thank you for that. And thank you for being cool and not, holding grudges and not being like, how people can be, what I mean? Business is business and stuff is stuff. And it shows a lot about your character.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. I do have a lot of questions for you. A lot of big things you've been doing. Let's talk about the most recent big thing, which is you just interviewed Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Yeah. So, it comes with social media. One of the things I was telling people is like, look, social media is going to impact your business in ways you can't imagine. It's going to get you leads, traffic. It's going to attract employees and people who want to work with you. But one of the things it's going to provide is opportunities you would have never even thought about. And like one of those was Cardone. So, Cardone puts out a post, I don't know, a few weeks ago saying, hey, I want to be on real estate podcast. Email this email if you have a podcast, right? So I'm like, a lot of people tagged me in his post. And so I was like, okay. So I just sent an email. They get back to me and they're like, okay, send us like your statistics and what you got going on. And so I sent all this stuff. And then literally like a day later, they're like, Grant wants to get on a podcast with you tomorrow, like essentially.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was in Mexico and I was like, can he do it, like Tuesday? And they're like, okay, Tuesday at this time. I'm like, great. So it literally happened like that.
Right.
But, the thing is, how many people get to go pick Grant Cardone's brain one-on-one, and not
to pay for it,
not pay for it, nothing, right? And get all the exposure from it. It's only because I had already had a following,
right?
That I was providing value to Cardone with my following and the content and everything else. Like he wanted, it's not like I was like seeking out Grant Cardone to get him on.
No, he wanted to get your audience because he knows that a certain amount of them are going to buy into his program.
Yep.
And he's going to be able to coast off of your audience and you're going to be able to coast off of his.
Yep. So just mutually beneficial. And, it's like, man, to be able to network with him and all the other things that I'll be able to do, that stuff you can't even measure because it doesn't matter how good of a businessman you are. Right. You could be the best realtor in Las Vegas. Grant Cardone does not care. Right. All these other guys don't care. They would much rather be with the guy who has attention because that's more valuable.
Right. And so you met with him. I watched the interview last night to try to get prepped up for us today. And I noticed that he did a ton of research on you, or his guys did.
Yeah. And
like he's dropping true books. He's dropping all sorts of things. Were you impressed with that?
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect, man, because I was just like, hey, like, let's just chat. Originally, they told us, they're like, yeah, Grant's got about 20 minutes he can do with you. I said, okay, cool. So I'm thinking, okay, we're going to just, chit chat for a little bit. He's going to want to talk about his new fund going on. And that's going to be it. Right.
Yeah.
And so then we get into it and, we talked for like an hour. We talked a lot off camera as well. And, he starts dropping true books and the house flipping. And I'm like, how much does this guy know about me? Like, I didn't say anything about it.
Right. I thought it was crazy when I heard him. I'm like, he did his research on Ryan.
Yeah.
And so speaking of Ryan, you also interviewed another Ryan who's got probably a huge social media following, somebody who did a major network television show, Ryan Sirhant.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
That one was interesting too. One of my buddies did a collab with him. And I said, hey, like, can you hook me up with Sirhant's team? Like, we're in the same industry, yada, yada, yada. And sure enough, we get connected. And they're like, yeah, let's do IG Lives together. Let's do some TikToks. Let's do a podcast, all these things. And, we got to do a little interview. We're going to do some more stuff. But it was cool. I got to speak to his students too, So I got to speak to everyone in his mastermind and they're all realtors, just showing the realtors like, hey, you guys got to get on the investing side. It's not just about selling homes.
Right. It's like an identity crisis sometimes.
Yeah.
Like being a realtor. That's why I'm sending my license back because I'm like, I can't even have that. I'm still in my mind chasing that REO dream. You know what I mean? That's the only reason I'm holding on to it.
There ain't even any foreclosures anymore.
Yeah. And if they did come around, I'd just use somebody else's license and go get the business.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Sirhant was a cool dude, man.
Now, and I don't want to put you on the spot like that, but who did you find that you learned a lot from?
Obviously Cardone was the most recent, but one thing Cardone said that stuck with me was, he's thinking so big in everything he's doing, right? Like he's got $3 billion worth of real estate. He's about to make it $4 billion with this new thing. And he's like, yeah, my goal is to get to 40 billion in real estate. I'm like, $40 billion. Like, how are you gonna do that?
Yeah,
right? Like I personally just crossed owning 40 million. And that's between flips and this apartment we bought and all this stuff. And I'm like, this guy's got 40 billion. Like that's his goal.
And 1,000.
Yeah. And you just think about it and you're like, wow. But then you just like kind of reverse engineer it. And you're like, okay, what path did Cardone take? And he kind of gave it in that interview. He was like, look, I've got 10X, which is the most profitable thing I do. You know, he said he was going to make like 150 million from courses and events and stuff. And he was going to net like 50 million from that. Because I asked him, I go, Grant, what do you think is the best way to like make money going forward? There's crypto, there's NFTs, there's all this stuff. He said, nothing will ever beat a business.
Right.
He's like, a business will always make you more money. He's like, and then you just use that money to buy real estate and you pay no taxes.
Correct.
That's the end game.
That's it.
And it made me like know that, okay, I'm on the right path. Cardone has laid this out. You just build your personal brand, you build it businesses around it. And from there, the rest will take care of itself. You know, real estate, you're always going to be able to buy bigger and better deals. The same crap over and over.
Correct. Just go for the bigger deal.
Yeah. So that was probably like the biggest thing I realized is like, Grant Cardone is not doing anything different.
Just thinking bigger.
He's just thinking bigger, and he's just been at it longer. I mean,
Right.
the dude is twice my age.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. For those of you who don't know how old Ryan is, did you just turn 33?
32, yeah.
32. Oh, sorry.
32.
So I've got 11 years on you. By the way, I just lost to Jared Peterson at basketball. That was my warm up for you. So, you know, you're a young guy, and you're relatively new to pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Like Cardone's been at it for 30 years,
Right.
and he went bust, right?
Yep.
And moved out to Miami, left California, originally from Louisiana. And I think the thing that I'm most impressed with you, and this is one of my questions, is your routine.
Yeah.
What is your routine is, you put it up. So it's there every day. Nobody can like dispute what it is.
Yeah.
Like if your routine is your routine, then put it up.
Yeah.
Right? Or shut up. Because you're putting up your routine every day, and it's consistent. I mean, you don't put up like, hey, I'm doing my journaling right now. Here's my journal. You're putting up the stuff that matters, and you're consistent every day. What does it look like?
Yeah. So I got this from baseball. You know, in baseball, you develop discipline and habits. It's the only way to play at the highest level. And you just get used to it. You just get used to doing the same thing every day because it makes you feel consistent in what you do. Your body feels the same. You're waking up at the same time. You are doing the same things. And when you do the same things every day, you get good at it.
Right.
And for me, you know, I start my day off by my little morning routine, like you mentioned. I spend about an hour writing in my journal, going through my planner, praying, and reading my Bible. That's it. I do that every single morning. I don't miss a day.
What's that? Okay, because I got the journal. I've written in it a few times.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time developing that habit.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good one. I've heard so many people talk about the reflection and the knowledge that comes from going back in your journal.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do that the right way. What's the right way?
So I have journals from the last 6 years.
Okay.
And they've been written in every single day the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And
that's discipline, folks.
Yeah. And that was the first time I heard about it 6 years ago. You know, I read a book called The Miracle Morning. Great book talking about how to, you know, start a morning routine.
Right.
And I don't follow everything from that book. I found my own version of my miracle morning that works for me. And, you know, one of those things was, you know, write in your journal every day. And so I just started writing my goals down. I started writing things I was grateful for. I started writing prayers.
Okay.
And those are just like the main things I write. And I incorporated that into my own planner. So I actually created a planner. Okay. Anyone can get it for free at ryanpineda.com.
So if you want a free planner, if you want to be super disciplined, let's go into that real quick. Obviously, we've got Ryan on, so you need to give us a 5-star review because we got 5-star talent in here and maybe 6 stars. So if you can hit a 6, do that. Ryan, where can they reach you on all your socials?
Easiest way is just to go to ryanpineda.com because we've got all my socials. You've got the planner. You've got my businesses. It's just the one-stop shop for everything.
I visited it this morning, and you need to update your 800K because you're now at 900K. It does say 800K plus, so you're theoretically right. But and by the way, like your website looks dope. Like I don't know who designed it, but
in-house team, man.
Yeah,
we try to do everything top notch.
Yeah, I would say the way I look at it, like Josh Galindo set the bar in Las Vegas on flipping, in my opinion, and you're setting the bar on quality production and like I'm looking at your videos and I tell these guys, I said, you see what they're doing?
Yeah.
You better freaking get it going. Like that's the bar. Right. And so that's what I wanted to talk about next is your competitive nature.
Yeah.
Okay. So the way I compete in my head.
Yeah.
And I know we're both playing golf right now. We're both flipping houses right now. We're both acquiring real estate right now. We're both trying to get ahead right now. I have a goal, as you know, to get a jet. That's my, I would say, short-term goal.
Right.
And so secretly in my head, when I compete with a guy like you, I don't know how you think, but I'm going to tell you how I think.
Okay.
When I secretly compete, I'm like, I want that guy to do really well.
Yeah.
But not just as well as I'm doing. Like, I want him to be super successful.
Yeah.
But I want to be just one ahead. That keeps me competing.
Yeah.
Like playing basketball. Like in my mind, if I think I can beat someone, maybe there's a chance I can beat. Like with golf right now.
Yeah.
I know you're into golf.
Yeah.
Like I know, like right then and there, I have no chance of competing with somebody who's an athlete of years that has trained discipline that you take. I've seen how seriously you're taking this sport and you're making money on it on top of it. That's the crazy. That was honestly, when I saw you make that move, I'm going to give you credit. I'm like, that was like a brilliant move. Like, how do you incorporate something that you love and make $6,000 doing it?
Yeah. I've actually had to raise prices because we're 2.5 months booked out. It's crazy.
But it's the smartest move you've ever done. I mean, like, in my opinion, like if you look at the social media and everything, that move right there.
Yeah.
How do you like, because you're on the golf course, like you said, you got a bunch of free time. You're usually just BSing about nothing.
Yep.
What do you like to talk about? Stuff that you're talking about on social media. If you're going to go play golf, like you said, I think I watched it in one of your videos, like it gets boring playing with the same guys at the same time. You're not getting better.
Yeah. So
you're playing with a bunch of new guys.
Yep.
You're making content.
It's always spontaneous. You never know who you're going to play with. Yeah. I mean, you touched on a few things. To finish off, like as far as the routine goes, you know, I do that hour routine. Then I go to the gym. I then go to the office from 10 to 5, and I just do that 5 days a week. Well, actually now only 4 days a week because I golf on Fridays. So 10 to 5 is work. Yep. I do that Monday through Thursday. Friday I golf, and then weekends are with the fam. Okay. So it's literally the same thing every week. There's not any kind of change. So that's like the morning routine. Now, as far as competitiveness goes, I'm with you, man. Like I love competing. It brings out the best in, well, it could bring out either the best or the worst in people, right?
Okay.
Because you have people who, let competitiveness destroy them, right? They just, whatever, like they'll sacrifice at all costs to go try and do what someone else is doing, when in reality, they're never going to be as good. Like, it's just what it is. Like, if I want to go be as good as LeBron James, it's just never going to happen.
Right.
Like, it's just, you can't do it. And so I think with competitiveness, I've learned that over the years playing baseball because, I played against the best players in the world.
Right.
I've played against Mike Trout. And you play against Mike Trout, and if you're trying to like be as good as Mike Trout, you can try to do it, but it ain't going to happen. And so I think competitiveness is better when you're competing against yourself. Now, what I will say is it is great to try to, emulate other people and take things you can. So like when I watch a guy like Mike Trout, when I was playing, I'd be like, man, like how is Trout so good? What can I learn from him?
Right.
What about his swing is so amazing? What about his routine and his workouts? And, I try to learn. When I got into YouTube, I looked at the guys like Graham Stephan and me, Kevin, and I said, okay, these guys are so far ahead of me. Like, and nor do I want to be like them. I can't be like them.
It's not you. Yeah.
Yeah. Nor do I want to. But what can I learn from them that was really good? And so I'll look at all these different things and I'll apply them to my own life. And then I'm still going to do me. At the end of the day, I'm just always trying to be the best version of me. And that's all I care about. And even today, it's like a lot of people will look at it and they'll say, well, I flip more houses than Ryan, or he has more followers. Well, I'm like, I don't really care. Like for me, I'm just playing my own game.
That's it.
Yeah.
You can't compare yourself to others in anything.
No. And so you just have to figure out what is the goal for me, and the people who are ahead of me in whatever it is. How do I pick some little things from them? In the gym, I'm in the gym every day. Like I'm pretty strong, but I'm with NFL guys and other stuff. I'm like, man,
where do you work out at?
It's called Phase 1.
Phase 1. Okay.
So a lot of Raiders guys work out there, different things. And, you look at these guys, and I'm older now. Even though I'm 32, that's pretty old for...
Get to 43.
Yeah, I know. But, I look at these guys, and I'm like, okay, just being around these guys makes me want to level up.
Right.
I know I'm never going to be like them, especially being older now, but
you got something to prove.
It's going to make me the best version of me.
Right.
So that's how I treat competitiveness.
Yeah. So I see you doing a lot of stuff in the gym that I look at and I'm like, yeah, that's not easy. Like I know I've been working out for years, but as you know, going to the gym and saying you're working out is not going to the gym and working out until you know what you're actually doing. Just like, as you know, I was in YouTube in 2010, right? And I had many videos from 2010, but because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, it didn't add up to jack diddly squat. And so once you go to the gym and you realize, oh, I'm not going intense. I'm not working out hard. When you work out hard. You're doing, what are you benching these days?
I could do 275 for 5.
That's pretty solid.
And I'm pretty light.
Yeah.
What do you weigh,
about 165?
I'm 180.
180?
Yeah.
You're a lean 180.
Yeah. I'm a lot heavier than I look. But
it must be in your legs.
It is. I got thick legs.
Okay.
But one thing I'll say that as far as competitiveness and leveling up goes is I've always put myself with the highest level people in whatever it is I'm doing. Smart. Right. So like we just said at the gym, right? I want to be at the best gym where, all these athletes are, right? But maybe my goal would be to be like a bodybuilder, right? Mr. Olympia guys. Well, I'd be at a different gym if like that's the look I was going for.
Right.
But I just want to be an athlete. That's what I am. I'm not a bodybuilder.
Right.
But when I think about social media, right? How do I get in with all these social media guys? I know every YouTuber now, right? Like I'm friends with all of them because I want to.
What's been your strategy on that?
For me, when it comes to getting in with the top level people, it's just figuring out a way to provide value to these guys. And so like with the YouTubers, it was simple. It was like, hey, guys, you're not monetizing the way you can be with business and delegating. And let me show you guys how to create systems and processes around your personal brand. And so, things like that. On the gym side, that's a little different. It's just like, hey, you got to, know, like you got to be able to fit in, right? Another thing I just did was I joined a group called YPO. And YPO is like, not a lot of people know about it. It's pretty old school.
Young Professional Organization or something like that, right?
Young President's Organization.
Right.
And in order to be in it, you've got to be doing like crazy stuff. I was actually the youngest guy in there at the event last week. And the guys in there are like really big dudes like that are doing, a lot of 9-figure net worths and stuff.
Is this in Las Vegas?
They have chapters all across the country.
Is Frank Martin in that group?
Frank is not in it because Frank's too old.
Okay.
It caps out at 50 years old.
Oh, okay.
That young presidents.
Yes, that's right. Oh, yeah.
But Frank is a mentor of mine. So
yeah, he's a great guy.
Frank is a great guy. But so anyways, it's just being around those people, right? Because now it was something I was always thinking about was, man, I'm around a lot of good real estate people and that's great.
Right.
But how do I get around good business people? And these guys are running just the most random, lucrative businesses that just aren't on YouTube and people don't talk about because they're just so niche that, whatever. And so I'm like, man, okay, if I can just get proximity to these guys, just by, what do they call it? Osmosis.
Yes.
You're going to learn what they know.
Yes.
And that's all I've done is just every aspect of my life. If I want to be a better Christian, how do I get around, Christians that are really walking the faith and doing what they're supposed to do? That's what I've done. If I want to get into self-development and teach or learn more from just like, these books and these seminars, okay, who's doing that?
Right.
And so I have a very wide range of friends and groups that I'm a part of because they're all very specific skill sets.
So let me get off topic a little bit and let's go into your personal life. I had a pleasure of meeting your wife at the Raiders game. Super cool lady. I can tell that you guys are in love and you're building a family together, and that's nice to hear. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, as you know, with any relationship, whether it's a friendship or your spouse, especially your spouse, it requires work.
Right.
And I know that you put a lot of work in, and and you guys are a team, just like me and my wife are a team, and she plays a lot of roles off camera and stuff like that. And go into that. Go into where your kids, how old are your kids and what's going on? What's the plan for the next couple of years?
Yeah, so I've been married 8 years now. We just celebrated our 8-year anniversary in Mexico last week, so we had a lot of fun.
How was Tulum?
Tulum was great. We were there for 6 days. Man, first vacation without kids. It was good.
Game changer.
It was great. No, I love my kids though. So my son is almost 3 years old. My daughter's 1.5, and kids are great. We want to have more. We it's been a blessing. My wife used to be a 8th grade English teacher. She was making $40,000 a year. Even while I was making $1 million flipping houses, she just loved doing it. Right. And then once we had kids, she retired, and she's been a stay-at-home mom since. So the one thing I'll say about my wife is that she has helped me, number one, think bigger. Number two, support me in all my different visions. But number three, really hold me accountable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because, I'll talk about, with thinking bigger. I'll tell you, I've told this story on camera before. Like when I didn't make $100,000 until I was 27 in a year.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. It's 5 years ago, guys.
That was 5 years ago.
What are you making a month right now?
I mean, I've made over 7 figures in a month now. So
things can change very quickly.
Yeah. Things can change pretty quick. And, now I don't even know anymore. It's like,
the month, you don't determine your month anymore. You're at a level where you're not counting the monthly.
Yeah. I don't even know. Like next year, trying to predict what we'll do, it's just, I don't even know.
I always, when I talk about Ryan Pineda, and because a lot of people talk about you, I'm sure you're aware of that. And they're like, because you took off like a social media rocket. That's why I say, you took off like a rocket ship. I said, that's what inspired me to get into it. And if you wouldn't have had that conversation with me and shown behind the hood, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And that shows, let's talk about your faith a little bit. I want to dive it down into that because I believe just like your routine, you have a Tuesday Bible study. I almost got it memorized. It's like 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock, right after work.
Yeah. So, and that's a commitment that you make week in, week out. It's a big part of who you are.
Yeah.
And where did that come from?
Like I said, I grew up in the church. I have always been a faith-based guy. My wife and I feel like we did it the right way with getting married. We didn't live together. We weren't doing things. And I think by doing that, it's really blessed our marriage. And we've been able to help a lot of other young couples and other things like that. But one of the things I realized was there's a lot of people struggling with faith. Not only in my own companies, but obviously everywhere else. And so I said, you know what, guys, let's just have a Bible study right here at the office, right after work. It's not like you got to go drive all this way.
No excuses.
There's no excuse. Like just right after work, we'll do it. Just an hour, right? Because I need to get home to the kids and the wife too. So we'll never, go over time. Like let's just an hour. And it's been something that's been really good for everyone. And I've been a part of Bible studies my whole life, so it wasn't like anything new. But what I will say is when it comes to faith, there are things that you do to improve your faith. I mean, obviously praying, reading your Bible, having community with other believers, those all really increase your faith. But the biggest thing that increases your faith is stepping out and doing something that, you don't know if it's going to work or not. It requires faith.
Right. It does.
So many people, they want the certainty of life. And the reality is there's no certainty. Their only certainty is you're going to die. And you better know where you're going after you die. Right. Because that's the only certainty in life. Yet we want certainty with our job and our investments and our career. And, and I'm like, guys, everything I've done in my life has been based on faith. When I flipped that first house, it was by faith. When I decided to go into social media hardcore, there was no proof that it worked. Like, it's just by faith. Everything, even to this point, as we scale and go to bigger things, I've never done it before.
Yeah.
We're just going by faith. Like, I feel like this is the right way that God's calling me to go. And, for good or bad, we're going to see what happens.
And I think that's something I'm way more conservative than you. And, that's just the way I am. I'm going to fall into my own thing, and do my own thing. And I admire your risk taking. I mean, maxing out your credit card is something I would, I was there and I hit the roadblocks early on. So that changed who I became as an investor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, but I think that your brass balls in terms of, just You know, when you first told me, and I'm going to get into this right now, that you were buying a 334 unit, $32 million apartment building, like, I was like, oh, he's backing out of that deal. Like in my head, I'm like, yeah, just, and then you closed on it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that deal.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things, right? It's like, do I have to go do that? No. Have I ever done it? No. But it's just like, I feel like God was calling me to step out of my comfort zone and do something new. And then all of a sudden, when I really put myself out there, the opportunities present themselves, right?
Right.
And so this deal presented itself. We had the right partner on it. And, you know, we had to go raise almost $6 million. And I said, okay, I mean, I never done this before. Like, let's just.
How long did you have to do that?
We had to close in like 45 days.
Okay.
So you're under the gun.
Yeah.
And
what's the earnest money that you potentially lose?
Yeah, I mean, we put a lot. I don't even remember. But, you know, it's just like.
Hundreds of thousands, I'm sure.
You just have to go out there and get after it. And so we did that. And we raised the money. And by no means was it easy. A lot of people don't see the behind the scenes of what has to be done to, you know, go convince investors on the deal. And
general partners, syndicators, preferred rate of returns.
Yeah, you got to do all those things. And I had to create you know, the funnel and all of the processes along the way, but we got it done. And now I can tell you deal number 2 is going to be much easier. Deal 3 will be easier. And, you know, from there, who knows what we're going to do? I have no idea.
Right. So I got an idea for you. I told you about it the other day. So I'm looking at 2 skyscrapers in Kansas City, Missouri right now. One is a 10-story building that I'm probably going to take down on my own. It's $6 million. I think I told you before the podcast, I'm going to try to do it SBA.
Yep.
600,000, make it as my podcast. And there's another one, but there's a lot of those opportunities in Kansas City. And I told you, I said, I think you should come down to Kansas City. And the reason is they're in Las Vegas. We're not used to this. I know you've traveled all over the country, but in Vegas and in Kansas City and places like New Orleans and older cities, they have federal and state tax credits, which means that, and I'm sure you know this, but I'm going to speak to our audience like they don't. So, which means that, you know, you spend $100,000, you're getting $45,000 credited back to you for putting that property back together by the federal government, which makes, you know, rehabbing properties and all that stuff so much better. And there's other types of TIF, which means you don't have to pay taxes on these cities like Kansas City because they're in growth mode. And Vegas is not in growth mode because it's growing naturally. They don't need to do anything.
They don't need to incentivize us.
Right. And so they're incentivizing. Kansas City is full of those type of incentives that sweeten up deals so much, so quickly. And there's skyscrapers. There's all these. And I have a clock. I have a gun to my head because I'm put in my head, I'm only going to be there 2 years. I'm going to Florida. And so I've already bought the lot in Florida. I'm already working on the plans to build that house. And I told you I'm probably trying to build a house out in Henderson as well. So there's just so many opportunities out there that if we open up our eyes and think bigger, and we think bigger like you have been thinking, and you got, you know, everybody needs to get outside their comfort zone. Yeah. And I was in my comfort zone, like really since 2013, just kind of like trying to find myself. And what I realized was by moving to Kansas City, by making that uncomfortable move, moving my whole family there, my wife does not want to be there. You know what I mean? Right. She's doing it to support me. Right. And by doing that, I realized I had an identity crisis of me being an agent in Las Vegas and being a real estate investor, which is what I really am. Right. And so, and then I see all these opportunities in Kansas City. And that's why I said, well, Ryan, let's do something together. So yeah, I definitely want to I don't want to talk to you about all the deals on the podcast right now, but I'll show them to you after we get out here. You can take a look at what they look like. It's pretty impressive stuff out there. So yeah, dude. You could say we could put Pineda on the top of a building out in Kansas City so that
we might as well.
I mean, like that's what you said on the phone too, which is like, I only want to do epic shit. Yeah. I only want to do epic stuff is what he actually said. I don't think he swear too much. Yeah. So, I want to talk about Lunar Commerce. Yeah. Tell me about Lunar Commerce.
Yeah, so Lunar Ecom.
So, okay, yeah. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, Lunar Ecom. You guys can go check it out, lunarecom.com. Yeah, so it's automation e-commerce. Once again, one of those things that social media ended up leading me to. It's not like e-commerce was on my radar or that I was just like all about it by any means. In fact, I started out as a skeptic, much like I've started out many things as a skeptic, wholesaling real estate. I'm like, how could you wholesale real, like you need to buy it. I'm like, then I learned you don't.
Yeah,
you
right.
just sign contracts.
Yeah.
Crypto, I'm like, Bitcoin's stupid. I think Bitcoin just hit an all-time high today.
Right.
I YouTube and stuff, I dismissed it for all these years. I'm like, YouTube and social media, like whatever, dude. Sure enough, obviously it works. E-commerce was one of those things. And quite frankly, it could end up becoming my biggest company out of all of them. And long story short, so there's something called Amazon automation and all these other types of automation where essentially somebody will create a e-commerce store for you and they'll manage it. They'll do everything. And then there's a profit split for managing it. It's pretty similar to how real estate works in that, somebody gives you money, you go do all the work, you guys split profits.
That's right.
So it wasn't like rocket science. It was just like, I didn't understand it.
Right.
So I get a store, this guy reaches out to me on social media. He goes, hey dude, I just want you to know you've impacted me in a tremendous way. Much like you said.
Right.
He goes, I want to repay you. I want to give you a store for free. And I said, whatever. Like, I'll try it out. Like, I don't really care.
I'm not committing.
Yeah. I'm like, whatever. So we do it. And then, sure enough, I just try it out and I'm seeing this thing's making money and then it's making more money and more money. I'm like, show me the other stores. Like, let me see what's going on behind the hood.
Right.
And I see what these other stores are doing. I'm like, you're telling me like how many stores do you think like we could get? And it's just like, well, with you, it's just however many you could sell and we can build this business. We could scale it. And I said, man, this is nuts. And so I started to interview other operators because I said, let me see what everyone else is doing. Because other people were telling me about it for a long time.
Check his temperature versus everybody else's temperature. Make sure that he's saying the right things.
Well, and just too, like, if I'm going to get into this, who do I want to partner with?
Right.
And so, because I don't want to start it from scratch. I need a partner.
Yes.
And so
your time is too valuable. You got too many things going on.
Yeah. And, you got to know your strengths. My strength is in, marketing. It's in, building a brand and company, but it's definitely not in the behind the scenes dirty work. I
would tell you got one more strength that you don't know about.
Okay. Well, long story short, I interview all these guys to see what's going on behind the scenes. And I realize, you know what? This guy who's been with me from the beginning is the best guy. And, we're going to start a company together. And we started the company together. And, now we've got all these clients. I don't even promote it because right now our growth is so fast that if I did promote it heavily like I do my other stuff, we'd be backlogged.
Right.
And I just want to build it out the right way. And, you'll definitely be hearing a lot more about it once things kind of slow down.
Right. So it's busy. So my other strength I was going to tell with you, and that's great, the Lunar e-com, you told me about it. It's pretty much in its infancy, you would say, and it's making you a ton of money.
Yeah.
And you're not putting in a ton of time into it, I'm guessing?
I probably put maybe 10 hours a week into it. Just really.
Is that the thing you're spending the most time on with right now?
Besides content, yeah.
Okay. So, you took a risk there, but it goes back to my strength. You take action.
Yeah.
You take massive action too. You don't just take like who maxes out their credit card. I mean, you take massive action.
Right.
When you went into social media, all in.
Yeah.
So that's something that you could, and if you fail quick. And if you go, it goes well.
Yeah.
So that's something that people need to pay attention to. So what's happening to you in the net? I know it's probably crazy because so many things have changed in the last 2 years for you. I mean, like where you were at 2 years ago, I guess 3 years ago. Where you at 3 years ago, you were just flipping houses.
Yep, just chilling.
Doing some Airbnbs.
Doing better than most people. Just flipping houses and chilling.
Got your Big Bear.
Yep, got rentals, just chilling.
And then you go up on social media and blow the thing up. And TikTok was probably a large part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why I started there.
Yeah.
And that's been a big move for me. If somebody's trying to get into social media right now, what would your advice be to them?
Well, my advice after going through it for the last almost, year and a half has kind of changed. Originally when I got into it, I was a big believer in YouTube. I said, YouTube is the king of all of this, mainly because it's owned by Google. And, when people search how to flip a house, your video is going to pop up. And then, anybody who can watch a 10, 15-minute video is pretty dedicated to what you're doing. Since then, I've realized it really depends on your goals. I look at all the platforms providing different things, right? To me, YouTube is kind of like your long-term rental portfolio. It's going to take a long time to build up, right? Like you got to put in work, and you're not going to see a huge return right away. Yeah. But in the long run, as long as you stay with it, over time, you're going to start seeing like, oh man, like I'm getting subscribers, I'm getting AdSense, I'm getting this evergreen content. You just build it up over time. So I look at YouTube that way now, where it is the nest egg in the long haul.
Right.
But then I look at TikTok and Instagram as those like flips. Like, you make a good TikTok, it could go viral tomorrow.
Right.
You could get thousands or I actually had a friend, she had 200,000 YouTube subscribers. She just made a TikTok last month, and she went from 0 to 2 million in a month.
Followers.
Wow. In 1 month. And it just goes to show, like, it's not like all our YouTube subscribers came over there. Like, she just hit on a bunch of viral videos. She studied what other people were doing to go viral, and she just did it.
Right. And it's kind of a feel the more you do it, right? Like the stuff that works, it's like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very repeatable. It's not like rocket science what goes viral. And, for me, I actually don't even make TikToks anymore. They're all just repurposed videos from my podcast or my YouTube. And, on one hand, the disadvantage is, I can't recreate these viral things. They're just taking what I said, and it is what it is.
Right.
But on the other hand,
you got 9 million for that one though.
I did. But on the other hand, I'm happy with where it's at. Like, I don't want to spend my time making more TikToks because I've already done that.
Yeah.
And I've built my following. Like, the return on now doing that every day is not good.
Right. Learn it, to get good at it
you have to do it.
Right.
You have to do it. And my point is, I think TikTok and Instagram are great. I used to hate on Instagram because to grow organically on Instagram was so difficult. But now with Reels, you can grow again.
Right.
And so I think by making TikToks, just repost them on Reels, and you can get both of them to grow.
That's good advice, people.
Yeah.
That's really good advice.
And you can even throw them now on YouTube Shorts, and that'll help your YouTube grow. So I think it all begins with short form content, as far as like, hey, if you're at 0, I would not like be trying to just only make big YouTube videos.
Yeah, plus the edit.
Yeah, they're difficult to make.
Yeah.
It's like, I tell this to, our students at Future Flipper. They're like, okay, I want to get passive income. I want a big portfolio. And I go, well, if you have $0, you need to like make some cash.
Right.
You need to flip and wholesale and make some money.
Right.
You shouldn't be trying to just go buy rentals, right? Because making $100 a month ain't going to change your life. Making 20,000 on this flip, that'll change your life.
Right.
So that's what I think of with those platforms.
I think for guys, I'm telling people now, if you want to start getting into real estate, why don't you start a Turo business? Because I'm talking to all these people. I've rented like 5 Turos. I've rented a Turo here, and I'm asking everybody the same question: how many cars do you have? How much money are you making?
Yeah.
And I'm talking to people who've got 45 cars. They're making $60,000 a month. You can bonus depreciate it.
Yeah.
All of that. So basically, that's why the rental cars. I see these rental cars as, if you're in the stock market, short them, because I see them going out of business. There's going to be more Turos. I see that. I was just talking to somebody else about this, that eventually, in fact, if you're listening to the show and you want to develop this app for me, I want to do an app where you can rent out tools. Right? Like, there's all these tool supply houses like Sunbelt and what have you. You need a tool for the job.
Yeah.
Guys have tools. They want to make extra money on that tool.
Yeah, those tools are expensive.
They are. And they get bonus depreciation as well. And so I look at that Turo business as like, if I'm going to give a young guy advice right now and they're like, oh, they can't visualize, man, $300,000, $400,000 to buy that house, but $5,000 to go buy that used Altima.
Yeah.
And
go get it with no money down.
Right. Get it in it with no money down or whatever, and then start renting it out, and then get another one, and then get another one, and then get into the big game of real estate. So
I think when you even look at my career, when I first started flipping houses, I was still flipping couches. Right. So like, I still had this income side hustle. And so I think you got to have some kind of side hustle or whatever that's going to support you. Like, you could do it while keeping your W-2 and doing real estate on the side. But it's much easier to do it when you're doing a side hustle plus another side hustle.
Right. Multiple side hustles.
Yeah. That's what I did. If you do multiple side hustles, you have time freedom to do, to weave in and out. But when you're constricted to a 9 to 5, it makes succeeding in real estate harder.
Right. And all your side hustles have turned into major businesses as well. So these side hustles, obviously you didn't scale couch flipping. I think that was a good move.
I realized the cap on that was pretty low.
But you know what? I've seen that you've inspired a bunch of you created a whole freaking.
Dude, there's people. I've talked to a few people that have got it up to like $20K a month. I'm like, props to you.
Yeah, I put a video out the other day. I was like, hey, we have a bunch of couches out here if you guys want them.
My crews were hitting you up.
Oh, were they?
No, I bet you they were though.
Oh yeah, I was like, you know what? It's here. Come get it. You've created a nation of. That was your first viral video too, right?
Yeah. No, I did not think it'd go viral. I was just like, dude, I think this would help somebody. Like I used to do this. I'm not even proud of it. Like this is just something I did to make money.
Right.
And dude, people they were like, dude, anyone can do this.
It's relatable.
Yeah. They're like, to make $200 today, just doing this, that's so easy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So I want to wrap things up and kind of finish stuff out, but I do have a few last questions for you. So what are your family goals and what do you do to nourish them?
Yeah. So one thing in the planner is that we have a tab for relationships. And so I have 5 different relationship goals that I make. One of them is date night every week. So I've literally tracked in my planner how many date nights I've gone on. I could tell you right now. I could that's the level of discipline you need. I track that stuff.
I need to do that.
I'll just tell you right now, what are my relationship goals? Let's see real quick, guys. So you can see here, relationship wise, date night weekly. I've done 47 date nights this year. And that's on pace for 1 a week. 1 party per month. So to me, I want to have friends over to the house. I want to,
these are good. This is good stuff.
Yeah. I've done 11. The goal was 12. So we're right there. 1 couples date night per month. I also want to,
meet other people.
Yeah. Have date night with couples and stuff. That Raiders game we went to, that was great.
Awesome.
Yep. So I've done that. 4 big vacations. So I want to go on 1 big vacation every quarter. We
recharge.
We just went to Tulum last quarter. That was great. And then I have a goal of 1 big company vacation. So if the company hits their goals, I'm bringing everyone. We haven't done it yet because it's, an end of the year thing, but they're going to hit it.
That's good. So people are buying into to everything that you're doing. When you came back, so for me, I'm a big vacation guy. I believe in it. That's the only way you can recharge. Whenever I come back from vacation, I am just for one, I'm trying to put the phone away. I'm trying to, less, and I'm paying attention to other stuff that's out of my element. And I come back and I'm just ready to slay the dragon.
Dude, I can't tell you the vacations. Everyone will tell you, I come back with a vengeance, and the vacation is a week max. I don't need a month.
Yeah.
All I need is a week to recharge, and then my brain just starts thinking about new things. And one of the biggest things that I can't share yet because it's not done yet, but
that's fine.
It's it came last week on vacation, and I bought the domain name. I just bought all these things. I already wrote the outline for it. It's gonna be big.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're always taking big moves. What is your why?
People have asked me this a lot, and I think a lot of people have a generic why. They say it's my family or my faith or anything like that. And I'll tell you, those things are very important to me, obviously. I think at the end of the day, like I said before, with faith, I know that there's only one certainty in life. We're gonna die, and you better be certain where you're going. And so for me, I feel fairly confident of where I'm going, and I know what God tells me to do as far as spreading the good word, serving others, being a light to the world. And so I try to do all those things every day. But I would say a lot of what I do is somewhat selfish in a sense that I really just want to push myself to be the best version of me. I just know okay, so there are people I see all the time who are okay, as long as I could get to, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 a month, the passive income, I'm chilling.
Right.
And I'm no way, dude.
No chill.
No, that'd be the most boring life ever to me.
Right.
So that's why I'm always constantly doing new things, because I'm like, what am I capable of?
Well, I've seen you've been capable of a lot. I mean, just the amount of people that you've met and the things that you've done in the last 2 years is just impressive. And when I was talking about competitive, I was joking a little bit, saying I just want to do better than you. I honestly want to see you do better than anybody. Yeah. I think the reason that you want to stay in Nevada is you want to run for governor and own this state because you're proud of where you're from.
Yeah, I am.
And I think that's a cool thing. I think that's an awesome thing. I think that you'll win. I think that you just keep doing what you're doing. You'll know when the right time to make that move is. I think you want to do it to better the state. And I think that you've got big things in your future. And I think that you're inspiring a lot of people. And so everything that you're doing is good. Like, I don't see anything that I'm like, oh man, like, I mean, like I said, initially I was like, I don't get it, but when I see it, like, I'm like, man, he's really, like you said, you're trying to serve people. You're trying to provide value. And everybody pays for that. Like, you get paid for that stuff.
If you put out value to the world, it's going to come back to you. There's just no other way around it. I'm
going to ask you the biggest and the last question here.
All right.
What is your biggest fear?
I think my biggest fear for sure would be losing my family. I've gone through this scenario in my mind before of like, what would it be like to lose my business or go under like a lot of these real estate guys have? And at this point, I'm like, it wouldn't really matter. I mean, I'd just go build it back like the next year.
Right.
Like with the skills and things I have now, you tell me I just couldn't like restart instantly. It's just so much easier today. So losing businesses or money does not scare me the least, which is also why I'm willing to take huge risks because I just don't care.
Right.
But losing my
fortune favors the bold.
Yeah. Losing my family though is something that you just don't really come back from, and that's why I'm such a big proponent of telling people like, dude, do not sacrifice your family for this goal of money. Money is easy to make, dude. Like we know this.
Right.
It is. Once you figure it out, dude, making money is easy. And once you also figure out that you don't really need that much money to live a cool life, I really believe like even today, I live a pretty exorbitant life on like $30K a month.
Yeah.
Like that's a $300,000 a year job to like live a crazy life.
Right.
And, but with your family, that's one thing you can't get back. And I look at my kids now and my son, he's almost 3 and I was actually rocking him to sleep last night and I was kind of tearing up because I was like, dude, he's so big now. Yeah. And I'm like, this is like, might be the last year that I rock him to sleep because he's going to be old. He's going to be like, dude, dad, like get away from me. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
He
ain't going to be that way with you.
Hopefully not. But it's just the time is so limited with them, with my wife, the same deal. And like, if we ever had to get divorced or something, the impact that would have on my kids and just my own life and my sanity, that's the biggest fear is like losing them.
I'm not glad you said that, but that's interesting that was your answer and it's probably the right answer. And I actually had this exact moment happen to me 3 weeks ago. I'm going to tell you about it and then we're going to wrap this thing up. Because I actually saw it happen. So I'm driving my kids to school in Missouri. We live about 45 minutes away from where I'm building my house. And so they're chartered for the school that we're actually building our house in. I'm driving down the road at the speed limit and talking to my neighbor. And all of a sudden, as you hang up your phone, put it back on there, see if there's anything, put it down. I look up, I see there's blues on me. So there's a cop on me. So I put my turn signal on. I look for a safe place to turn about a half mile down the freeway. And I roll down my window. As I roll down my window, I'm waiting for the cop to come, talking to my kids. Kids are in the back of the car. Golf clubs are in the back, getting ready to go play golf.
Yeah.
And do it every Friday, And so I hear some shouting. And I look back and there's a cop with a gun pointed at me. And I'm on the freeway, so it's hard to hear what he's saying. So I can't hear what he's saying. So finally I hear that he says, put your hands outside the vehicle. So I put my hands outside the vehicle. Then he says, take the vehicle and open the vehicle from the way out. And then he says, walk backwards and put your hands on the vehicle. Within 30 seconds, I was in handcuffs, put in the back of the squad car at gunpoint, and my kids were in the back of the car, right? And I'm like, what? And the guy's shaking, like I can feel him because he's got me like this. And he's shit. And I said, you're shaking. I said, why do you have a gun pointed at me? My kids are in the car. I got my golf clubs. And he says, I've been following you for a mile and you didn't pull over. And I'm like, you didn't put on a siren? You didn't tell me pull over? You got your blues on. The minute I get out, he's got a gun pointed. And the only thing I could think of, and then I got his supervisor and the whole story like that. But the only thing I could think of is, this is what it feels like to lose my kids. Because they said, who's going to come pick up your kids? And I'm sitting there in the back of my car and I saw my whole life pass before my eyes. I saw my wife divorce me. I saw all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and I said, man, that's what people feel like. And what got me out of that, Jim, because the next guy I said, can I get your supervisor? Supervisor comes. He said, he's the one that said, who can get your kids? Then a third guy comes and I start talking to all these guys and I tell them where I'm building my house. And I tell them, but I bought 100 properties in the last 18 months. And all of a sudden they go, oh, he's somebody. Mm-hmm. And they let me go. And they had just pulled me over because I had Nevada plates and I was driving my kids to school. And the guy had his adrenaline pumped up and he thought I was a criminal.
Wow. It's crazy.
So,
well, yeah, that's absolutely insane. But I'm with you, man. I listen, I watched the whole Henry Ruggs thing.
Right.
And you just look at like, man, that guy, I don't know what, obviously he made a terrible decision and his life is going to be drastically changed. Forever. But, he might have been doing everything right to that point, and one bad decision just ruined him, his career, his life. He ended someone else's life. He's going to jail, all these things. And I'm like, that could be me. Like, I could do one dumb thing that could wreck everything. And I'm not worried about doing one dumb thing that loses a business. But like, if you lose a life, you lose a family member, like,
there's no coming back.
No.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point to end on, is that everybody needs to take each day at a time. Tomorrow's not guaranteed.
No.
And treat yourself the way Ryan does. Be the best you. Ask yourself more from yourself. Prove that you can do better. Don't be comfortable. And definitely subscribe to both mine and Ryan's YouTube channel. All of our socials, we'll put them up there for you. Give us a 5-star review on the podcast. Ryan is out there changing lives. I'm trying to just keep up. You're a pace setter. Okay. I consider myself a pace setter on a lot of things with rental acquisitions. I would consider myself a pace setter.
Right.
Social media and business, you are the new pace setter and I'm following your pace. I'm just trying to draft off you.
There we go, baby. That's all you got to do.
Thanks for tuning in to the Troy Kearns Channel podcast. We have a very special guest, Ryan Pineda. He graced us with his presence today. He's a busy guy. He gave a lot of great advice. I think that you should play this podcast 5 times over and over. Hit it on repeat. Give us 5-star reviews. We're done. Peace.